Hi book besties, welcome back to another video. This time it's another TBR jar video. We are going to be picking out our TBR for the month of October, which is super exciting because that is like peak fall to me, spooky season, Halloween. So all of that is what we want on the TBR. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I guess we'll just see. I did kind of do a little bit of rearranging on my TBR cards. I added some thrillers down here. I added some books that I've borrowed from friends and I haven't gotten around to, so hopefully we can pick them off the cart and actually read them this month. We have a couple of romances, we have book of the month, we have a little bit of everything. So the goal, I think, is to pick 5 prompts from our TBR jar. We do have a book club book that we picked this last week, and that is called Mr. Magic. That's what we're going to be reading as well. That is on the TBR, and I believe that's a thriller mystery or more of a, like a horror book, which is interesting. The cover looks interesting, so I'm excited to read that. That's kind of technically book number 1. We'll have a total of 6 books, including that one, 5 that come from the TBR jar itself. So let's just dive right in. Let's see what our first prompt is going to be. All right, we grabbed one book title that starts with the first letter of the month, which I say it that way because that's O, and that's going to be pretty interesting, I feel. I don't know if I even have anything that has the letter O as the first letter in the title. Oh, we do. Okay, we have One Dark Window, and I think it might just be our only competitor. Checking the top. Oh, and this one. So we have 2 competitors that are gonna go up against each other. One Dark Window and Olga Dies Dreaming. I feel like right off the bat, I'm certainly more inclined to read One Dark Window. I bought this like a month ago, so it's still one of those books that I like really want to read. And I feel like that's something I found that I'm going to be doing more of, is not buying so many books, because I feel like you buy them because you want to read them and then you throw them on the TBR cart and you don't end up reading them, and then they end up here. I feel like the last few months I have gotten a lot better at that, and that's just going to be kind of my hopeful goal moving forward. So trying to get off any new releases read immediately and off the cart, and then just kind of trying to get through my physical backlog, which I feel like it finally clicked in my head that that's what needs to happen. So all of that said, I'm gonna choose One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is a fantasy book, and it's also giving like thriller vibes. It's giving spooky season, so I think this is the perfect book to pick and to start off our October TBR. This has been on my TBR for a while. I don't know too much of what it's about, but maybe towards the end of this video we can kind of dive into what it actually is about. But already it looks super intriguing. I've heard nothing but great things, and I'm very excited to announce that this is book 1 for our October TBR. So that's book 1. Let's throw this back up there. I'm glad I actually had like a choice though for that prompt. That was a really cool prompt. Let's see what we get. We'll go with this one. Book that ends in an odd number of pages. All right, so basically off the bat, I can kind of choose whatever, and then we'll just see if it ends in an odd number of pages. What are the ones that I really want to get off my TBR this month? We have some really long books back here, and honestly, I've been wanting to read them. Will this be the month? I don't know. All right, I'm gonna choose 3 that are for sure like at the top of my fall TBR. So first we have The 4 Winds by Kristen Hanna. Let's see how many pages this has. 448. So no, doesn't end in an odd number of pages. We have, what is this? A Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. This is kind of insane to hold up. It also has like an appendix and everything, so I'm not gonna count that. I'm just gonna count like the actual book. 924 doesn't count. And then we have 112263, which has been on the TBR quite some time. I think this, I'm trying like not to read the pages and like spoil anything. 842. So none of those end in an odd number of pages. Afterward, 849. I would read the afterward. So I think I'm gonna count that. We're gonna go with 112263. Is it a cop-out? No, because I would genuinely read the afterword. I wouldn't read the appendix for a book like this, and then this one just ended when it ended. So we're gonna go with 112263. I believe this is the 3rd time it's made it onto my TBR officially through one of these videos, and I haven't picked it up. So hopefully 3rd time's a charm and I actually read it this time. I feel like this time I am a lot more motivated, so we'll see. But this is book number 2 on the October TBR. So far, very happy with my TBR. Again, only 2, technically 3 books deep, but I'm excited. I also want to do a reread of one of my favorite books. Let me grab that and add it to the cart and see what happens. The book that I want to reread is none other than The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. So we're gonna kind of just add this in here and see if it's meant to be. All right, prompt number 3. We'll go with this one. Intimidating book. See, that's a tough one because I would have picked this for sure 100%. Now I'm stuck between potentially picking A Storm of Swords or honestly another book that I do find quite intimidating, which I feel like is a little weird, but this one, Harry Potter. I have never read Harry Potter. I think this would be the perfect season to read it, but the reason I feel I find this intimidating is mostly because of the series itself. I feel like starting Harry Potter, I have to see it through to the end, and I do have my qualms about reading the series, but luckily I have my friend who let me borrow the entire series, so I don't have to buy them or anything. And I don't know, I just feel like it's time for me to finally read this. So I think I'm gonna choose this. Like I mentioned, it is kind of intimidating, mostly because of the series itself, and I just don't know if I'm even gonna like it. I have definitely put this off for like over a year now. I feel like I really wanted to read it last fall, didn't get to it, have been waiting a whole year. So it's definitely been intimidating, been sitting on my shelf all year. I think it's time to remove it from the cart or the TBR itself and add it to my pile. So we're gonna go with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is book 1 in the Harry Potter series, and I'm pretty scared. I do not know what I'm gonna expect. This is more YA because obviously it's targeted toward a younger audience, but it has such a legacy that I can't wait to just see what that is. So book number 3 on the October TBR is Harry Potter. We're starting the series. I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll just see. Prompt number 4. We'll go with this long one. It says, a genre you don't usually read. So I feel like recently I have really been reading a little bit of everything. So there is a genre that I haven't read too much of this year that I would love to read more of, and that is historical fiction. I feel like typically I am a historical fiction girly, but this year it just hasn't happened. I have definitely read a lot of fiction, romance, fantasy, thriller, mysteries, even horror. So I feel like besides even nonfiction, I've read more of than historical fiction. So I think that is maybe a genre that I haven't read recently that I would love to get off of my kind of pile, and I know I have a few contenders for that. Okay, right off the bat, obviously I'm kind of pulled towards the 2 Kristen Hanna books that are on my pile here. If I'm being honest, it's probably gonna for sure be between these 2. They're both historical fiction. I've read this one before, but I would love to read it again. And this is kind of her other book that's like in her top 5 that I haven't read. So it's between these 2. Which one do I want to read? That's a tough decision for sure. I really don't know. The Four Winds. I feel like I want to read this one. I feel like I just want another new Kristen Hanna book. I feel like I will always have this to kind of fall back on and read if I want to, but I feel like I just need to get The Great Alone off of my TBR cart. It's been such a long time, so we're gonna go with, oh, not The Great Alone, sorry. We're gonna go with The Four Winds. Kristen Hanna, historical fiction. I already know I'm probably gonna be a puddle of tears at the end of it because that's how I tend to be with any Kristen Hanna book, but I love her for it. I love her stories, her storytelling, it's everything. The characters, beautiful. Cannot wait to read this. It's gonna be book number 4 on my TBR, technically book 5. So we have one more prompt because I said I wanted to pick 5 books. So let's see what our last prompt is gonna be. Frick. There's one that fell and one that I picked, but I'm gonna go with this one. A seasonal read. Okay, that's great. We love that. We wanted fall reads, so I'm getting exactly what I wanted. There are a few that fall into that, I feel. We do have this one. All right, I actually picked out 4 books potentially for this prompt, and I would love to read any of these. So first we have Fuel the Fire by Chris and Becca Ritchie. Look at the freaking cover, like, right? It's giving fall. This has been on my TBR multiple times. I don't even want to talk about it. I have to read this like ASAP. So very high on the TBR. Then we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I think this would be fun for the month of October just because obviously paranormal romance, a werewolf, seems fun. It's Ali Hazelwood. We have a new release, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by B.E. Schwab. I heard this is lesbian vampires. Sounds amazing, magical realism, fantasy, looks fun, a bit of a chunkier read than I would like, especially with the huge book that's over here on my pile, so that's probably the only detriment that I could point out for this book. And then we have a thriller mystery, The Last One at the Wedding. This is another book that I borrowed from my brother-in-law like a year ago, and I feel terrible still having it like on my shelf, but I do really want to read it. So these are all pretty high up on my TBR, and I don't know which one I'm gonna pick. Which one is giving more seasonal read? If I had to give, I mean, I feel like that has to be kind of the number one. That was the prompt. That has to be the number one priority. Obviously, seasonal read for October. We're giving spooky season, Halloween. I think this might not count because it's more of a romance, you know, it's actually even giving like November, so maybe next month. This one is for sure giving Halloween, spooky season. I feel like this one is as well, and so is this one because a thriller mystery will always kind of be a fall seasonal read. What do I pick? What do I pick? What do I not have on my TBR already? We have historical fiction, fantasy. We don't have a romance, so that could be fun and a little bit of a palate cleanser. We don't really have a thriller mystery either. We do have fantasy. So I feel like we don't have either one of these two. This is such more of a big deal than it really is. Like, I'm making this into a big deal. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. You will not be it. You will not be it. So I guess it's Bride by default. Fair game. So we're gonna go with Bride by Ali Hazelwood as our last book on our October TBR. So let's review the books that I have on here. Alright, so here are the books on my October TBR, starting off with Bride by Miss Ali Hazelwood. This is a paranormal romance between a vampire and a werewolf, I believe. And I feel like that's all I really want to know about the book. I don't want to know like the intricacies and have anything be potentially spoiled. So I feel like that's all I'm really going to give you guys in terms of information. But anything Ali Hazelwood, sign me up. She's an amazing author and I love her writing. I feel like her romances are always pretty believable. And for me, I feel like her signature move are her side characters. They're always so funny, so lovable. Like, I would want Ali Hazelwood's side characters to be main characters someday. And sometimes they are in her other books. So obviously I'm very excited for this book. I think it's peak Halloween, peak October. And I think it's part of a duology and the second book is actually coming out this year. So perfect time for me to get this off my TBR. Book number 2 is one that I'm scared of. It's The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna is probably top 2 favorite authors for me. I'm obsessed with her. I feel like this is the only other book that's really in her top 5, like I had mentioned, that I haven't yet read. So I'm really excited to get this off my TBR, but to finally just read it and know what it's about and see where it kind of falls in comparison to her other books that I have read. This is about the Great Depression, basically. That's the backdrop of the book. It's historical fiction. It takes place in the 1900s and it takes place in Texas too, and this family we're following is deciding, are they gonna kind of try to stick it out in their hometown of Texas or potentially move west to California. So that's again really all that I have in terms of information and all that I really want to know, but I know this book is probably gonna do a number on me just as all her other books have, but I can't wait. I'm very truly very excited to read this book. Next, we have one that I don't think needs an introduction, and that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, book number 1 in the Harry Potter series. I'll be completely honest, you guys watching this probably know more about what this book is about than I do. I really have maybe seen 1 or 2 Harry Potter movies in my lifetime, and those movies were watched when they came out in the movie theater, have not been rewatched. I know like the 3 main characters of this whole series, but again, I don't really know much more than that. I know this is probably going to introduce us to Hogwarts, the magic university, I think. He's a wizard. So we'll just kind of see what I feel about this. I feel like it's time. We're ripping off the band-aid. Next, we have a book that I'm quite very intimidated by, mostly because of its length. Sorry y'all, my camera died while I was mid talking about this book, so if I moved a little bit, that's why. But anyway, I was saying This is very intimidating because it's extremely long, but I have heard nothing but amazing things for this book. Like, anyone I've heard talk about this book has said it's in like their top favorite reads. So obviously that's a huge reputation, and it is a bit intimidating also because of that, because of the expectation. But I will say, like I had mentioned, this has been on my TBR multiple times. I think actually this time last year it was on my TBR, and I did read like 20 pages of it. And oh, I literally have a bookmark in here, 22 pages. Wow, I did not know that was in there, but we read 22 pages of this last year, and I did like what the story was, but I think I just prioritized other reads at the time and just didn't finish it. So I will probably start it over because I don't really remember what happened in those first 20 pages. But this is about time travel, so I feel like time travel, sci-fi type of books are not my cup of tea. But again, the reputation that this book has, it leaves me no other option but to read it. I have also only ever read one other Stephen King book, and that was Billy Summers, and that book was interesting for me. It was like all right in the moment, but it was very complex. And then looking back, I feel like I do want to dive more into Stephen King's writing because it was like a standout in my opinion. Very excited. This is 11/22/63, which is the date of JFK's assassination. So that's kind of what this is about. I believe we follow a high school teacher who goes back in time to try to not have the JFK assassination happen, or just something along the lines of that. So that's like the very basic synopsis, and I think this might finally be the time I actually read this. So fingers crossed. I'm crossing all my fingers. This is like top 3 priority TBR for me. So big moment here. Last book that we have on our October TBR is One Dark Window. This is part of a duology, so I'm really excited because I love sort of shorter fantasy series, and a duology is like perfect. Heard really great things about this. This is actually really highly rated on Goodreads as well. So I think those were my main motivations for picking this up at Barnes & Noble like a month ago, and it's sat pretty highly on my TBR since then. So cannot wait to read this. I tried to read the back to get like a basic synopsis and plot of what this is. Basically it says Elspeth needs a monster, the monster might be her. I tried to read more than that, and I just didn't collect anything. I didn't retain anything because it's a fantasy novel, and I feel like those sometimes just go in one ear and out the other. So we're just gonna dive into it semi-blindly and see what it's about. Like I mentioned, duology, very excited. The cover is giving peak October spooky season, so I cannot wait to read this. And honestly, I am so happy with my October TBR. I don't think there has been a TBR that I've been more excited for in months, and I genuinely want to read every single book on here. So that is going to be my main task and challenge, and hopefully you guys stick along and see how that turns out. But for now, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and will follow along and see what the heck I do in terms of reading these books and what I think of them. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.